So in today's session, we're going to talk about the importance of movement in ways in which they will help us boost learning. We're also going to present some kinesthetic activities and different categories. We're going to demo some TPR activities, some group activities, some mindfulness activities. And then at the end of the session, the idea is to rethink and reflect upon those strategies and ways in you guys can have the necessary tool to start the new year or the second semester of your year fresh with new ideas, ready to implement them in your classes. So let's go to upper. So why is it so important for us, for ourselves and for our students to be able to move their bodies? Well, there are different reasons. The first one is how many neural pathways we are helping our brain to create by using movement. And here you will see that I'm showing a picture of a scan picture of what the brain activity on a student that is sitting quietly. And what happens after a student walks further, or after you walk, and what happens to your brain. So basically, a brain that has been, or a student that has been using movement is positively affecting his or her brain. We are using these neural pathways that help us increase cognition, help us improve memory, and acquire knowledge faster. So it's really important for us to consider movement in our classes. Also, brain activity after movement increases oxygen. It also helps students be more ready to learn. So here's something that I always think about, how we have our lesson plans, how we like to be cover the content, but at the same time, it's always good for us to observe and realize that if our students are, yawning, or if they are, have been sitting for too long, it's super important for us to incorporate, stop what we're doing and incorporate movement in the classes to aid and make whatever we're teaching even better. So that's the reason why I have included this, and we're going to be talking about this and how you can help your students create those neural pathways and oxygenate the brains, and helps them be more alert and have developed their critical their attention and their learning. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the different
hey Lorena,
categories.
you are a co-host now. Do you want to take over sharing? Or do you want me to keep sharing?
If that's okay with you, Chris, I would really appreciate it, because sometimes my internet gets super slow and it takes forever to load the next slide.
All right, then that's the way we'll do it.
Thank you so much, Chris. So kinesthetic activities categories. So these are the categories that we'll be presenting today. We have TPR activities. Today, we're going to share some ideas for Move If, some songs, charades with a twist, some group activities that Alan is going to present, and some mindfulness activities that I'll be demoing and showing you how you can use them with your students. So hopefully you guys are ready to turn on your cameras and interact. Okay, so let's see how many people are brave. Oh, great. I see some cameras on. So, and Alan is also, yay. Okay, so activity number 1 is Move If. Okay, so you can muévete si for Spanish, or whatever language you have. The idea is for us to decide, for example, I know we've been sitting for a long time, so we're gonna do like a rainbow. We're gonna draw a rainbow with our arms. If, okay, you love you love to be by the beach. Let's see. Ooh, many. Okay. So now I'm going to so move if you are full of energy. Not so much. Okay. Move if you are tired, but you still want to stay here. Awesome. I'm glad you guys are moving and stretching your arms. Okay, excellent. Move if you are at school right now. Let's see if there is anyone that is at school. Oh, someone, yeah? Move if you are at home. Si estás en la casa. ¿Estás en la casa? ¿Casa? Sí. Okay, perfect. Move if you are really excited to start the new school year. So.
We do slow motion. Slow motion.
Slow. Awesome. Okay, but you can decide what your move if is, you know, you can decide and these categories, and if you want your students to hop, you want your students to, you know, skip, do jumping jacks, that's up to you. Okay, so
Lorena,
that is yes.
Question for you. With the muévete if, like for me, with my high schoolers, like they don't want to move. Middle schoolers
They don't want to move.
My high schoolers don't want, most of them don't, they just want to sit. So do you have any tips on encouraging them like to get into and excited about moving?
Getting excited about moving? Well,
yeah.
You know what you could do? You can implement this idea with, because they are TikTokers, there are TikTokers and YouTubers, like they get more engagement with, you know, social media. So let's say if you find a TikTok of a person doing a challenge on TikTok, you could do that. They like it because they want to, you know, or
Okay.
there's a short, whatever TikTok song of a Latino music, maybe that sometimes is like a big hit. That could help your students get motivated to move.
I also have thoughts on that
Thank
too,
you.
because I think it is true that sometimes classes have different personalities, and you can, you know, have your lesson plan where you're like, I'm going to do muévete sí for each class, and you know you're going to have one where they're not going to bite as much. And later in the presentation, we'll have some activities that still involve a type of movement, but maybe not as dramatic or not as obvious, not as spirited. So there are ways that you can just get your students doing things that aren't just sitting passively in the desk, that still kind of tap into that first slide that Lorena showed of activating different parts of the brain and making them feel more engaged. But I hear that. I know I'm thinking about a class I had last year that I would do brain breaks with and say like, ¿Quieren moverse? Like, are you ready to move? And they would just be like, nah. And
No.
you kind of have to work around it or think of.
Yeah, I have that with like TPR a lot too. And I have it with like when we're acting out the stories, just like I don't know, like the body language of like, oh, I have to stand up. I mean,
so maybe they just stay seated and do it, you know?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, even if they just get to move their arms, doing this does help our brain oxygenate, you know? So even moving your fingers and doing like some concentration tricks for them to see if they can coordinate are enough to help them oxygenate the brain, you know? And with the suggestion on using social media, you can download the TikTok and, you know, project it and show it, you know, that's another suggestion. Okay, let's go to our next activity. I hope, oh, thank you, Chris. Oh, I'm sorry about this one. I'm gonna show it because it's not available in the US, but I will download a video and send it to you guys. It is a song that, at least here in Argentina, it's very popular. It's La Taza, Tetera, Cuchara, Cucharón. For those who don't know Spanish, I will explain. It's like cup, teacup, and there are different elements that they kind of like show. So you have to do for taza, you have to do this. For cuchara, you do this, cucharon. You could use it for students that are like pre-K, K, you know, first graders, second graders. And this is an activity that we also did for my daughter's kindergarten, the parents and the kids dancing together. So It's really cool. And also the video that I will download and share with you later on is like basically showing you taza, that the picture and how you do it. So basically you are those elements. You're a spoon, you're a fork, you're a knife, and you have to do it as the song goes along. So when you're selecting songs for TPR, this is some important thing, you know, have the movement, but also the mental representation of whatever image you're going to teach, so your students can connect them and it's easier and fun for them to learn. Okay, so let's go to the next one. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize about it until Ellen mentioned it yesterday. This one is another one for teachers of English. It's the follow the leader, and I like this video. Let's just play 10 seconds of the half part of it, because thank you, Chris. So this is the idea, and this is what I was talking about. You see that you have the lyrics there, you have the guy showing the directions. And so, well, I use it for my English classes, but any song that is like this, that you can find for whatever language we're teaching, is a good song to do both TPR, showing them, you know, the text, the lyrics. That will be helpful too. Okay. So we're going to continue, because yes, that's the one, Lisiana. Soy una taza. That's the name of the song that I was mentioning before. So for this one, I'd like for your cameras to be on, please, to help us with charades with the twist. The idea on this one is basically to, instead of doing words by themselves, is for you guys to use sentences, complete sentences, so your students can focus on the production of a full sentence, right? So the idea here is to give your students a list of statements. It could be, you know, topic, it could be part of the story, you know, you guys decide. In my case, I'm using está, you see, and the conjugations of está, estoy, and I'm trying to use cognates, estresada, frustrado, confundido. Okay, so students can, you know, relate them easily, connect them easily. So this is one. And then what you would do is have the students select secretly one of the sentences that they want to act out for charades, and for the class to guess. Okay, so I'm going to show you one, but I would like for one more volunteer to do the same, because it's a lot of fun. All right, so I'm going to pick one. Okay. Okay. No, you guys cannot see it.
También hace color. Estresado. Estresado.
Estresada.
Sí,
Confundida. O en el parque. En el parque.
En el parque.
Porque no hay en la playa.
Okay, yeah, I'm hot. Okay, yes. So you see, so the idea is for, you know, it could be many things, unless, you know, but the idea is to give you a list of this. So I would like another volunteer to pick secretly one sentence and to act it out. You have your background, which is better than mine because I couldn't show. Anyone would like to volunteer?
I can do it.
Okay, good. We have many volunteers. I love that. So let's start with Deborah.
Thank you. Ay.
Relajada.
De veras, muy bien.
Gracias.
Excellent. Deborah,
Wait.
anyone else? I know I had another person who wanted to volunteer.
I'll do it.
Okay. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Confundida.
Confundido.
Sí.
Okay.
Very good.
Bravo,
El
confundido.
actor o la actriz está confundida. Very good. And the idea is for you guys to focus on how the students say the full sentence.
Right.
So they practice everything. And let's say if there is a team who only said confundido, make sure they say the whole thing. That will help you also stress and practice. And or the whole class, you guys decide if you want to play by teams, by students, you decide. Good?
Muy bien.
Okay. One
Did you
more?
come
Let's
up
do one
with
more.
this? Is this in the book or is this something you created?
I created this for this session. There are some that are part of the curriculum, but you can create your own, based on whatever you guys need. Yes, I project the sentences for all the students in this case. Okay, because I want my students to concentrate and focus on these sets of 8 specific structures. But it is up to you how you want to do it.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
How about the songs? Are in Voces digital too?
Those are songs that I compiled for this session, but you guys will have access to this recording. And
Oh.
I will also make sure to download the videos so we can also share it with you guys, because for whatever reason, it's not available there, which is not, I'm not sure why, but I'll make sure you guys get it if you want to use it for your classes too.
Excuse me, I have one point. I need to insert 3 grades during the week. And this kind of things to play, to think, I cannot grade about this because the students be, I don't know, dismotivated or I don't know. I think sometimes I have difficulty to put the things because I need to have 3 grades during the week to insert in my Wengage. Then can you help me to think about this, please?
Sure. Can you email me? I'll send my email here. So can you can email any of us, but I'll send my email here. So we can definitely, like we said before, we are here to support you.
Okay.
So anything you guys need, we want to make sure that you guys, have all the resources and the support you guys need. Okay.
Okay.
So we're here for you guys. All right.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for participating. Yes.
To chime in on that real quick before I click again. It doesn't have to be the whole class period either. It's something you could do for 3 or 4 minutes at the beginning of class, and then you've still got plenty of time for your normal assessments and grades and things like that. Just something to get them kind of warmed up.
Right. Yes, this is it could be a brain break. Like I said, if you have been teaching your class for 20 minutes and the students' attention span is now shorter than before because of the influence of the social media, well, make sure that if you have something going on and you think it's time to stop and have this break and have your kids move and oxygenate the brain, do it. And it's way better than trying to force students to complete a whole activity that might take longer than their attention span would be, so that's a piece of advice. Let's move on to our next activity.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I will try and take over here. So to the participant that was talking about having difficulty with students' motivation levels to move, there are other ways to get students involved and not just passively sitting in their desks. And one of the magic tools for me is a mini whiteboard. So I just put a cut and paste. This is from today on Google. So if you're motivated to get mini whiteboards, you can get a 24 pack for about $25. So it's like $1 a student, and it comes with markers and erasers. And you could actually do the activity that Lorena just presented, the charades with a twist, using the whiteboard. So using it as kind of a Pictionary game. So some people said, you know, would you project those sentences on the board? Yes, or you could have a handout. You could do them with individual words, or I really liked Lorena's idea of having, you know, sentence fragments or actual sentences. So students are practicing language chunks. And I do a game called Pictionary Mania with my students. And it's just I guess instead of charades with a twist, it's Pictionary with a twist. And I have 3 categories, and I would do this in the target language. So instead of just drawing on those mini whiteboards, I'd put them in pairs or groups of 3, and I would say, okay, this round we're gonna do ojos cerrados, eyes closed. And so then they would just be drawing the pictures with their eyes closed. And it's just a way to get them moving, get them doing something different and sensory with their body. That's not necessarily so high level, like jumping up and down and doing follow the leader, follow the leader. And then I do using mano opuesta, so using the opposite hand is another category. And then finally, either drawing in the air and trying to copy the image that you're seeing your partner do in the air and render the image on the whiteboard. Or if your school allows students to touch, some schools don't, you could have them go and draw on one another's backs. So they can kind of feel the image being drawn on their back with the marker and copy it on the whiteboard. And that's something that I used to do when I taught 6th grade, because like someone mentioned, little kids and middle schoolers, they're very, you know, needing of this type of engagement. But I brought it over to the high school, and the high school students love it. And it's one of those kind of like low prep sort of activities. Now this would be an activity that would take time. So for the person that was saying, you know, I need to give points, this would be a longer term activity as opposed to one of these short little brain breaks. But I think in this presentation, we're trying to suggest do both. So the other activity, the other image that you see on the screen right now is an activity that I do. This is a quick brain break that you definitely wouldn't need to do points for, just something to kind of get them moving. And I did this with a shy class. I did this with a class that was maybe not gelled completely in the beginning of the year, and it really helped to you know, build some community and introduce some laughter. So I think we can advance the next slide.
Allison, can you say one more time? You said mano opuesta.
So the 4 categories that I do are, I'll just say them in English, but you can put them in the target language for your particular language. First, I do eyes closed. Then I do opposite hand. And then I do drawing on the backs. As just variations. Oh, I think the videos of me is playing. Can we stop that? We'll stop that while I'm explaining. But and then the last one, so I usually have 4 categories: the eyes closed, opposite hand, drawing on the back, or in the air if your school doesn't allow touch. And then the last one I call people putty, and it's just charades. So it's just kind of dipping back into what Lorena just showed. But that could take a really long amount of time. You can have them cycle through different partners. You can pause, you know, after, okay, let's stop. Let's see, like, who's got a good, you know, let's see someone, wow, you drew that with your eyes closed. That's amazing. So it just adds a little fun into the class and is a way, again, to move and engage with different sensory, you know, experiences that's not doing jumping jacks, for example. But the next activity, the slide that's up, and sorry, the video started to autoplay, is a brain break that I introduced. It's called Groups of 3. So we can show that video. It's me presenting the directions in Spanish, and I put it subtitled. So those of you that don't speak Spanish can see. And I think, you know, with some of these brain breaks, I mean, we're so lucky as language teachers because anything we do is input. Anything, you know, in other classes, maybe they would have to justify doing a brain break, but for us, just explaining the directions in simple terms becomes an opportunity for students to engage with the language. So I think we're the luckiest teachers of all. We can do anything. Okay.
La actividad se llama grupos de 3. Estamos en grupos de 3, ¿no? Habrá una foto en la pizarra de 3 personas. Megan dice, oh, comprendo, ¿no? Ustedes necesitan copiar la foto. ¿Comprenden? Yo soy la juez. Yo decido. Así es perfecto. Y fue rápido. Un punto. Sí. O un punto, ¿no? Al final, el grupo que tenga los más puntos recibe. ¿Qué recibe el grupo? Pegatinas, ¿no? ¿Practicamos primero? Sí. ¿Practicamos? Ok.
So that was just me, you know, explaining the directions. I've been in the habit of filming myself. I'm not allowed to film. Erica showed some amazing videos of her students in different activities. I'm not allowed to film at my school. So you know, when I share videos, you just see me. But the QR code links to that actual slideshow. And then the long kind of, you know, long link there is what you would have to enter if you were to type it manually. But you have our emails at the end of this too, so you could always email me for things like this. But I just have lots of different pictures of groups of 3, and some of them are more involved, and again, involve like touching or students linking hands than other ones. So you would just have to know your audience, kind of know the school culture, and then decide whether you could do photos that were like involve students being close together or not.
And also I like that, we'll give you guys access because some teachers already scan the code and they, you know, will give you access to the slides because it may be requesting some permission. So we'll do that after we finish with the presentation. Thank you so much for scanning already. Okay, so let's go to our next slide. So here, I'll talk about a little bit about the importance of mindfulness. I'm sure some of you or most of you guys have already, you know, are already incorporating these strategies, but basically mindfulness stems from the idea of being fully present in, you know, being fully aware of who you are and where you're at and when. So now and here, I'm standing right here. Okay, and that ability to bring ourselves back to now and here helps us decrease stress and sadness, increase levels of focus and happiness, especially because throughout the pandemic, you know, all of us experienced this feeling of uncertainty and feelings of what is going to happen. You know, so many things happen. And I was really lucky to do a course on mindfulness during that time that really helped me too and help my students feel, you know, grounded, understand that now you're safe, you're okay, you can do it, you will be okay. And so the idea is basically to help you guys and give you some ideas on how you can incorporate, if you are not yet, or add more to what you already have for your students. And hopefully you can also do it. We found some activities in different languages, so you can probably use those too. All right, so let's go to our next slide, please. So the first mindfulness activity that we have, and this is also part of our EFL curriculum, is called, it's a breathing activity, and it will basically use an infinity sign that you have right there. You can even print it and have it right here, you know, showing it to your students. You decide how you want to do it. But the idea here is to basically use that infinity sign to have your students do this and direct them to basically breathe together. Okay, so normally we would do in this case, and I'll be demoing with you, and if you guys do, please follow along. So here you have the infinity sign. The symbol that is in the middle is for hold, espera o para. Okay, then you have the arrows in inhala or inhala. So you do inhala, 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop. Y exhala. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, para. I'm going to do it in English now. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. And you also have it there for French. We were able to add French. So you can, like Alan was saying, you can add it to your, your directions like inhala, exhala, inhale, exhale. I'm not sure what the pronunciation for French is, but you can also do that and use it. And it's pretty simple, but trust me, oxygenating your brain and have your students play some music while you do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, para. Slowly will help you and will help your students have that moment to focus on now and here, and then you can continue, start or finish your class however you decide to do it. It does have a great impact on your class dynamics. So hopefully you try this. Okay, so let's move on to our next slide. I have here one of my favorite props that I also acquired, bought when we had the pandemic. It's called a breathing ball or a Haberman sphere. It can expand like this, as you can see. Wait, let's see if I can remove my background so you guys can see better. Sure, I can add the instructions. We can definitely, okay, let me see. So hopefully now you can see.
Sorry, I was referring to Alan's slides with her grupo de tres. Because she shared the slides, but she, like, the instructions we just saw, I didn't know if maybe she could add it to those slides.
Yeah.
They'll be in these slides when we share those at the end.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So now that you can see my breathing ball, before you do this activity or the one that I shared before, it's important to understand the breathing rates that each age group can have. So as you can see here, kids that are 3 years old breathe faster than students that are 10-year-olds, okay? So understanding this will help you guide your breathing practice effectively. So what I would do here is basically have my students, raise their hand like this and lower it when they inhale like this to show me, and then exhale. So I can do the same with my ball to understand the rate of, so if my students are younger, I would probably have something like inhala, 1, 2, 3, 4, exhala, 1, 2, 3, 4, para, inhala, 1, 2, 3, 4, exhala, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so yes, thank you so much for saying that, Alan. But you can also use this, for example, if you have the, a classroom. Somebody was asking, I think yesterday, a question about what happens if they don't have desks or like deskless classrooms. So you can have your students sit like, in a circle and have this ball, maybe have one student stand up and direct the breathing activity, counting and doing inhala and exhala. You can pass it to the next kid. That can be a more interactive activity too. And it's always fun to have something like this that students can touch and they can use to pace their breathing rate. So I hope, you know, if you have it or if there is something similar that you can use, you know, it's always very, very helpful. Okay, so let's have let's move to the next slide, please. Ooh, Alan, you can help me with this one too. This one is an activity also that will help your students not only practice the animals vocabulary, but for you to have 4 sets of different movements, okay? So can you please turn on your cameras? Let's see. Yay! Okay, awesome. So I would like for you to choose one animal. And, well, you can choose 2 according to the instructions. So let's choose 2 animals. Number 1 is gallina, 2 perro, 3 gato, and 4 vaca. Okay, so you decide. You can type in the name or the number of the animals that you just chose. Okay, Marta, sos un perro. Aline, gato. María es un perro. Vicky es una vaca. Patrick es un gallo. Ana, una vaca. Josimar, una vaca. Lisina, perro. Okay. Okay, perfect. I would not pick gallina because in Argentina, River Plate is their mascot is a gallina. So I'm not a fan of River Plate. So I'm not a gallina. I will be probably a vaca. Okay, excellent. So you know your animals. Now, based on the animal that you chose, you will have to do something else. Let's see, Chris. Let's move on to our next slide, please. Okay, so yo soy una vaca. Tengo que hacer el cow pose. Let's see, let me show you my cow pose. Okay, el perro. Can anyone show me the 3-leg dog pose? Come on. What about ¿quién es un gato? Oh, Pascale es un gato. Brent, ¿cuál es tu animal? Which animal did you select? Oh my goodness, he's gonna do it. ¿Eres un gato? See? Oh my goodness. Very good. I'm not a gallina, so I don't know who's gonna do the squat pose. Okay. So you can do this also with any language, and have your students review this and do some of these. There are very cool, cute videos also that you can use for your students that also introduce these poses, these meditation poses, and you can breathe. Do that pose like the cow pose, for example, like this, and breathe in, breathe out, and stand up again. Okay.
Lorena, is there a reason the first slide said to pick 2 animals?
It's because I want my students to do 2 movements. So the first movement would be the first one of their choice, and the second one would be a second one. You could also group your students by the animals that they chose. Have your students raise their hands and do all together the cat pose, let's say, the perro pose. You decide. But there are so many ways in which you can do this. You can have competitions of who does the best pose of each group. There are many ways in which you can do it. But yes, and you could do as many rounds as you want. I did this because I like the relationship between the animal and the type of pose you have to do, but it could be also a random choice. So thank you for the ones who participated in showing the poses. You got to oxygenate your brain. All right, so let's go to
this slide made me think about one thing I wanted to say when I was talking about the groups of 3 activity. So a lot of the ones that we presented so far have been like either individual, you're individually breathing, or like small groups. But if you have a large class, there's an activity that's similar to groups of 3 that I think is awesome, especially with big numbers. And it's, you give them 4 choices like this. So they're not self-selecting, you're selecting for them, but I'll put in the chat square, circle, line, or star. And then, you could divide the class in half. So if you have a class of like, I don't know, 24 kids, you could have a group of 12 and a group of 12. And then you call out the shape in the target language. So prior, again, this would be an activity that is a brain break, but maybe the first time you do it in the way that you saw me laying out the instructions really slowly in Spanish and teaching these 4 vocab terms, it could also be something that serves the dual purpose of giving them some input. And then, you do these activities, you want to have a good variety in your toolkit. You can email me and Lorena for more ideas, but I think once they know how to play, then they can go back and it's a favorite activity in April that you don't have to do all the instructions for. But for square, circle, line, and star, I call it forma, shape. And so I'll say to the group of 12, like, make a circle, and they have to do it faster than the other group and they get a point, or, make a line faster than the other group. And that's just like very low prep. You don't need a slideshow for it. And it's just another way that you can involve your students in these types of shape making activities.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those cool ideas, Alan. Thank you for sharing that idea, Vicky. Yeah, definitely check before, with the specific also students or classes. But also maybe you create any movement that you want, because the idea here is for you guys to get your students to move. So maybe ask your students what they want for the, let's say, for the cats to do, for the cat group to do. That's another way also to do that as a variation. So let's go to our next slide. But that was a great point, Vicky. So Alan, you want to comment on this? Because she found this great resource for French teachers, because
yes.
We've been talking about Spanish and, other languages, but we wanted to also say hello to French teachers and include some resources that are specifically targeting your language.
Yeah, this I found on Twitter using the hashtag, I follow the hashtag LangChat. And this teacher, Michelle Fournier, posted, it's a very long document. There's the QR code, but here is the link directly to that same document in the chat. And she has some videos of authentic resources in French and just kind of talking about a lot of the points that Lorena has made. So even if you don't speak French, the instructions are in English for, why mindfulness in the classroom matters, how you can implement it. And, if you see something you like in the French version, you could kind of Google and look for the Spanish version. I know I'll be doing that. I have some videos already in my Google Drive of brain breaks, but this has given me some food for thought, and I hope it does for you too.
Awesome. So you guys will also have the QR code for that, so no worries about it. So let's move to our next slide. So basically, before we end, and there are other things we want to share before we end, of course, but just going back to where we started, the idea for this presentation was to show you how important it is to get your students to move and how that can affect positively and have great impact in your classes and how your students are learning. We have presented kinesthetic activities that are related to TPR, group activities, and mindfulness. And so the idea is for you guys to think about, reflect upon the different strategies that might be helpful, that you might want to use, that would work well for some groups and for others. And, hopefully this will give you inspiration for more and more strategies for you to use. And now let's move on to our next slide. Yay!
Yeah, so I wanted to say also, and I said this in yesterday's session as well, if you're the type of learner that feels like you need to see things on paper, so you value the video, we have access to all of these things on Voces main website under training and then conferences. But if you like to page through a book, something you can highlight, something you can take notes on, I wanted to let you know about a teacher's guide to our story. So it has ideas for brain breaks, lots of practical activities that you can take away, and even some of the back end stuff that the Voces team members have been presenting on about how to, use the Voces platform, and its different tools are all in this book. So I just wanted to remind you of that. And it's also a digital bundle too. So you would have both ways of accessing material like the type that you're seeing at this particular workshop.
Perfect. So let's go to our next slide. Thank you, Ellen. I know you have a lot of different teachers that already have copies of this. And so we invite you to get those copies. And also we have our groups, our Facebook groups that, if you haven't joined yet, we would like to invite you to join. We have CI Teaching with Our Story. We have Storytelling Strategies that is for EFL/ESL teachers. You have our websites, the Voces website and the Our Storyscape website. This is for all the English story-based curriculum. You have my email, Alan's email. So we would like to hear from you. And last but not least, we have 2 more slides to go. We would love to invite you again. I know we've been inviting you, but we don't want you guys to miss this great opportunity to participate in the CI Summit for 2024. That is one of our events that I know for those teachers who have participated, have enjoyed getting to know other teachers, connecting, being part of a great community, supporting each other, sharing ideas, learning from others, collaborating. So we would really love to see you there and your colleagues. So hopefully you can join us. You have until September 1st to take advantage of the super early bird discount. So hope to see you there. We'll finish with our last slide. And we can answer any questions. I think we have 5 minutes to go. So basically, thank you everyone for joining us. I love Nelson Mandela's quotes on the fact that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And we are all as teachers are doing it. So thank you for taking time of your summer or winter, because it's winter here in Argentina, to join us and collaborate and share these wonderful ideas. And I'm sure your students are very lucky to have you guys.
And it looks like in the chat, Lorena, some of the viewers want to go back to the slide with storytelling. Maybe it was at the Facebook page, Vanessa?
Yep, probably so.
For ESL.
I'm trying. Yes, apparently I have to restart it.
Yeah.
If it ends, I have to. All right.
It's just, yeah. Sorry about that.
It'll be a reminder of what we did.
It's a reminder of everything that we've done so far.
I'm putting a link in chat to the page on our site with more information about the book.
Yep, and I think it's the next slide, Chris. The ones that is about the that one. The first one is for the Facebook group for ESL/EFL.
And Simone put some of those direct links in the chat as well, if you just scroll up.